happening in our country in the education sector, where a lot of things have been happening, and we'll be looking at that plus other situations. But first, I think it will be interesting if we start off in the Senate health sector, where the Senate session was suspended after Health Cabinet Secretary Deborah Mulongo was reportedly taken ill. CS Mulongo, who was expected to respond to questions about pressing issues in the health sector, sent a letter requesting a postponement, citing her inability to attend. Deputy Speaker and Mary Senator Kadhuri Murungi relayed the news to the House, expressing disappointment over what he called an unsatisfactory justification for her absence. Rebecca Miano, the CS for Tourism and Wildlife, had also requested a delay in her appearance, but the Senate Business Committee denied her request and mandated her and summoned her to appear. However, the absence of both CSs left senators frustrated, sparking criticism over repeated absences that have disrupted proceedings.
Now it has become a trend for the CSs not to appear before this Honorable House. Honorable Speaker, if, let's say for example, the CS for Health, she is supposed to communicate to us 24 hours before. If she has sent the letter today, Honorable Speaker, that means she doesn't care. And this is a trend that has been going on and on and on.
We need to bring a motion of censure against the cabinet secretaries. But Mr. Speaker, maybe that is not enough. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, the starting point would be to have a serious and candid conversation with the appointing authority of the CSs, so we get to know, the Speaker, whether these sessions make sense to government or maybe they don't make sense, Mr. Speaker.
Morning, I'm actually very disappointed that such heavy critical matters that were to be raised by different senators from these questions here are just going to pass by as time goes by, and the clock is slowly ticking, Mr. Speaker. So this shouldn't be a joke like any other, Mr. Speaker. A serious discussion needs to happen around this, because it's now become a norm that cabinet secretaries don't show up, time elapses before you even get a solution to what you raised. You've even lost, if it were patients, you've even lost them before they get redress on their matters.
Especially Machakos County, because when people go to hospital, instead of the SHA putting up the bills, Mr. Speaker, SHA is not in operation and people have paid and they cannot be discharged from hospitals. They keep on calling us for bills, and we keep on making phone calls to NHIF to know what is happening. Mr. Speaker, this is wrong, and CS for Health must appear before this Senate to answer questions.
It's pretty interesting when you listen to some of the things that have been said or were said on the floor of the House. It kind of feels like, you know how you go to your teacher and tell them the dog ate my homework? It's kind of like that. Migori Senator Eddie Okech and nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba had a heated exchange in the Senate over Migori Senator's remark of alleged abductions within government structures, seemingly pointing a blaming finger at the government for conducting unwarranted arrest and detention. In a quick rejoinder, Senator Orwoba asked her colleague to substantiate the claims, failure to which required the withdrawal. Senate Speaker Amason Kingi had a rough time quelling the tension in the House as the debate on the abductions and remedies ensued.
I have listened to Senator Eddie Okech talking about abductions happening within the structures of government and outside other structures. And Mr. Speaker, you know, there is an allegation there being placed on, I'm not even sure whether he's targeting an individual in government, whether he's, because he has also mentioned the president at one point. Can he substantiate these structures within government where he's saying that are being used for abduction? Perhaps he knows of a unit, a particular unit that he can even just mention, so that even us as senators, we can come out and call out that unit. We would like to know which is this inside government, maybe, and if he cannot substantiate, he must apologize and withdraw.
Senator Gloria is comfortable because any of her family members have never been abducted. But abduction of young people in this country must stop. And they happen within the structure of security in this country, as well as outside the structure of this country. You might make noise as much as you want, but I can assure you that one day your own family member or your own relative will be abducted and you won't be sitting pretty. We must stop the abduction of young people in this country. It must stop.
Whereby, when you don't get the government taking action to debrief those who have been abducted and released, to establish where exactly they were being held, to try and determine who are holding them, then the only conclusion you can draw is that the security forces have failed in their mandate, and for lack of a better word, are complicit in the abductions. And so, Mr. Speaker, sir, the circumstantial evidence that avails itself to an inquisitive eye is that our abductions are being conducted either by the police or with the full knowledge of the police command.
You cannot allow Senator Okia Omtata to get away with what he's saying by saying that the abductions that is happening within the country are either state sanctioned or police sanctioned. And talking about defunding a unit. Mr. Speaker, can the senator of Busia table evidence to show that there is complicity or the police are tolerating the abductions that is happening currently in the country?
Well, I agree. I mean, there's something that is not right that is happening in the country. There's a lot of either abductions and disappearances that are going on. Every now and then you check on Facebook, you find, people being announcements of people who are missing. So there has to be something, and it's increasing to a point where, when some of your people are leaving home, you have to tell them, hey, by the way, don't greet no strangers, don't touch the hands of strangers, walk in places where there are people, because, this thing is just crazy. People just disappearing like that, and it's not the rapture, then something is seriously wrong. Well, the United States Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, has announced her resignation through a communique sent to newsroom. Whitman, who has served in the envoy role since 2022, conveyed her decision in a statement stating that she had submitted her resignation to President Joe Biden. Her announcement comes just days after Donald Trump's victory in the recently held U.S. elections. Furthermore, Whitman expressed gratitude for the opportunity to serve as ambassador and reflected on the significant strides made during her tenure in strengthening Kenya-U.S. relations. That's a statement by Whitman, basically highlighting some of the things and accomplishments she's been able to do and attain during her tenure as the U.S. ambassador to Kenya. What I knew, Whitman is a billionaire and doesn't see eye to eye with President Donald Trump. And so one thing she will not give Donald Trump the satisfaction of doing is to fire her. So she decided, no, I'm going to hand in my resignation, and I'm hand it in to the president who appointed me, that is Joe Biden. So she's decided to go before getting fired by by Donald Trump. And you remember, there's been a lot of complaints, and mostly so from the civil society and sections of the opposition who've been saying that the time has come for Meg Whitman to go. I remember Raila Odinga had at one point during the demonstrations early in President William Ruto's term, started during the demonstrations. She said that Whitman was interfering with the affairs of the country, and he had demanded that she be recalled. So a lot of things, but I guess she has done what she had come here to do, doesn't she? Yeah. Now, the Ministry of Education has identified adults as the main culprits behind this year's exam malpractice. CS Education Julius Ogamba revealed that the full report on the exam irregularities will be released after the exams are done and dusted. During the distribution of KCSE exam papers in Kiambu County, Ogamba confirmed that suspects are already facing legal action. The CS also asked school administrators to remain in their posts until the distribution of grade 9 textbooks is completed.
We are undertaking this examination under very strict regulations, and any malpractice, any attempts are being handled, and most of them are actually being handled before they occur because of the multi-agency approach that we are using, where we have teams in the ground, and the teams are able to identify certain malpractices before they happen. And because of that, and we are able to arrest those attempts to ensure that the examination that we are going to finalize next week will be the most credible so far. I will be collecting the statistics that I'll share next week when we complete the exercise. So far, there are a number of arrests that have taken place in CIR. There were a number of arrests that took place in Eldoret, and all of them relate to adults. The students are not really part and parcel of that particular syndicate. And I want to inform the Kenyans that once the arrests are done, the investigations are ongoing, and those investigations will be able to reveal the extent of the cartels that are involved in this particular attempts. And once we determine, we'll then be able to proceed with the prosecutions and ensure that whoever is involved faces the full force of the law. With respect to grade 9, we have proceeded with the construction of the required classrooms. We are going on. We have done 3,500 classrooms so far, 200% completion. The second phase that is dealing with 7,500, we are almost at 57% completion across the country. And this last phase, which is 5,000, is also at various stages of construction. So we anticipate and we are looking forward to ensure that by the time we open schools in January, the 16,000 classrooms that were assessed will be in place.
You know, I was getting information from Ministry of Education, Kisii County, Kisii and Nyamira. There's a lot of this that has been going on, and people are found with phones. And then, you know, when the investigators looked at the content in their phones, they discovered that, you know, these were actual answers to the examinations. So the million-dollar question is, how did these individuals get access to the papers, the answers, and some of them were actually invigilators who had gone into the examination rooms with mobile phones. And it's really disturbing if we start teaching young people how to get things that don't belong to them or they have not earned. What benefit will it be if you go to university having stolen an election? I mean, not elections, having stolen exams. It's the same thing that we are having in the election scene, where people are basically bribing their way to parliament. And you see the performance. we keep on complaining. Now, Public Health and Professional Standards, PS Mary Muthoni, has dispelled assertions that the ongoing polio vaccination is unsafe to children. The PS says the vaccine being administered in the country has gone through the necessary certifications, including WHO, and thus should not be worrisome to parents. She has urged parents not to hesitate to take their children for vaccination, noting multiple vaccination boosts immunity of the children. PS Muthoni has, however, noted that parents should report to the nearest health facility if symptoms associated with vaccination arise.
And I want to assure you that all vaccines that are offered by the Ministry of Health are tested to be safe, effective, and they are approved by the World Health Organization. This vaccine is being used everywhere else in the world. So it is not just Kenya alone. And all vaccines in the country are tested by the National Quality Control Laboratory, together with Pharmacy and Poisons Board, and have been found to be safe and very effective. However, during vaccination, sometimes you may find rare occurrences that some children might experience some mild side effects, such as fever, vomiting, diarrhea, fatigue, muscle aches, amongst others. And at this juncture, which is very common, sometimes they can become severe, and the parents and caregivers are requested to visit the nearest health facility for a medical review or for a medical review of the child, and may report by dialing our 271 hash number. So these are common issues that may occur after the child has received vaccination, and it is advisable that the children should be taken to a health facility instead of keeping the child home. And unfortunately, due to low routine immunization rates in some counties and polio outbreaks in neighboring countries, Kenya remains at risk at any given time, and that is why we are continually doing the oral polio vaccination, because every dose means a lot. It adds an extra protection for any child who is below 5 years.
WHO. Now, main suspect in the murder of his wife in the Embu County was presented in court and will remain in police custody. The victim was reportedly attacked in front of their children, aged 5 and 9, with the children being a key witness. According to the prosecution, the community is outraged and fears retaliation if the suspect is granted bond. An elder brother of the suspect told reporters that after committing the act, the suspect went to see him while carrying a machete, which is believed to be the murder weapon.
Seeking prayer number 2, the application, to the effect that this court be pleased to order that the respondent be detained at Kiritiri Police Station for 14 days to enable the investigating officer complete investigations into an offense of murder.
The Constitution envisages instances in which bail can be denied, and the further decrees that such denial may only be allowed where there are compelling reasons to do so. In the present case, it has been deposed by the investigating officer, Chief Inspector Janet Akem, in a supporting affidavit sworn on the 12th of November 2024, that the likely witnesses in this matter are close family members of.
You know, these are issues of mental health. I know there are other, forces. Like we keep on saying, all life is spiritual. And I believe before something happens in the natural, in the spiritual, it has already happened, or it has been caused to happen. This gentleman, the suspect, had actually been working with a politician during the last election. And immediately after the election, he was taken ill, mental health. After a while, he was discharged. And now, after being discharged, it took some time, and now this happens. And according to people close to him, there was no argument between him and the wife. The guy just started slashing. So take care of your mind. If you notice something is not okay, talk to somebody. And if you see somebody, your brother or somebody around you is not behaving the way they normally behave, seek help. Talk to them. See what you can do so that we can help as many people as possible from this. Now, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, has called on world leaders to establish an annual 167 trillion or $1.3 trillion for Africa Climate Fund aimed at supporting developing nations in combating the effects of climate change. Speaking when he represented President William Ruto at the World Leaders Climate Action Summit COP29 conference in Baku, Azerbaijan, Mudavadi emphasized that climate change is a daily reality in Kenya. He further emphasized the importance of global cooperations to tackle the crisis. He called for a new collective quantitative goal of no less than $1.3 trillion annually from 2025 to support adaptation efforts, loss and damage, and the implementation of the nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. He also proposed an additional $5.8 trillion by 2030 to ensure a just transition to low-carbon economies.
You have the floor.
De la Convention cadre des Nations Unies sur les changements climatiques, Monsieur le Président de la COP 29.
This is not merely a conversation on economic recalibration, but a strategic discourse on unlocking Africa's true wealth and potential in the global economy. As the chair of the African Union Commission of the Heads of State on Climate Change, it has been my honor to lead Africa's collective efforts on climate change through numerous consultations, reflections, and regional summits, including the historic Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi in 2023. We have articulated our unified stance on climate justice, adaptation, and finance. Africa is not merely a stakeholder in global climate action. We are a leader, and it is our responsibility to ensure that our solutions are tailored to our unique realities and abundant resources. As the world was conducting the global stocktake in the leading up to the COP28, Africa had already initiated its own comprehensive stocktake through the inaugural Africa Climate Summit, which resulted in the Nairobi Declaration. This declaration highlighted Africa's position, priorities, ensuring that climate justice remained a central focus in global climate negotiations. Africa's vast wealth of natural capital, from our forests and biodiversity to our clean energy potential, remains underappreciated in traditional economic assessments.
Well, you know, we've had quite a number of this COP, and the Western countries basically promised that they're going to give money. They just never do. And you know what happens? They keep on telling developing countries like Kenya, do not utilize your oil reserves. If, like what we have at Talo, they will try and tell you not to use oil, not to utilize that resource, because by utilizing that resource, you'll be releasing carbon into the air. They will tell you don't use coal. Don't forget that they're using them. By the time they're telling you don't use them, they're already using them. So they tell you that what we are going to do, we are going to pay you for not using them. What we want you to do is plant trees in your countries so that when we mess, your trees can be able to harvest the carbon from the air. But they are not paying. Anyway, you know, doing trees is great. and it's going to help the country, and we should do that. But at the same time, we should not go to the West as though we are begging. We should not. We just do our trees, we establish the forest cover we need to do, and then we do whatever we need to do to develop our country so that we can stop the over-reliance and dependency on the Western countries who basically would constantly want to see African countries beg. And I think we bowed long enough, didn't we? Baringo North Member of Parliament Joseph Makilap has exuded confidence that Deputy President Kithure Kindiki will help the President deliver pledges to Kenyans. Speaking at Karbatonjo, Makilap said all the arms of government, including Parliament, are now solidly behind the executive, following the removal of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Makilap said DP Kindiki is hardworking and dedicated, adding that through his efforts as Interior Minister, there is now relative calm in banditry-prone areas of Baringo North.
Huyu Profesa Kindiki ni mchapakazi. Wacha mimi naambia nyinyi watu wa Baringo North. Ile maneno tumepitia hapa. Mungu, Rais na Kindiki alitusaidia kwa hii maneno, ilikuwa hapa insecurity hapa. Mpaka wa sasa bwana Helero Bishop, mashule yote ambaye mlikuwa mkuje tuombe huko, yote tumefungua 100%, all our schools. Because of hard work of a gentleman called Professor Kindiki. Aganishika mkono kama mbunge wenu. Nikiambia tufanye hivi, ananiambia twende kazi. Nikamwambia nisaidie hivi, anasema shika enda kazi. Huyo ni mtu mungwana au si mungwana? Huyo ndio atamsaidia rais kuendesha sera ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Sisi tukiwa wabunge tutaungana na Kindiki na rais sasa kueleza wa Kenya ni yale tumefanya kwa mwaka mbili.
I don't know whether he understands what he's saying, because he's saying Parliament and the executive are now one. That is the problem. When you have Parliament and the executive in unison, you have a problem, because now the Parliament will not check the executive, and the executive is a very bad-mannered machine because it wants to do things, and if there's nobody there to check him, then you have a big problem. And that's the reason why the judiciary and Parliament or the legislature is supposed to be there to check the executive. So there's a problem there. The deputy government spokesperson, Mwanaisha Chizuga, has called on border riders in Ngong Division, Kajiado County, to register in the to register and also become SHA ambassadors to tell the resident how the new health system is beneficial. Speaking at Ngong Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, Chizuga said that SHA is more beneficial to Kenyans and everyone should register so as to access the improved health care. She also said that most Kenyans who have registered with SHA are continuing to benefit, as most of the services they get from health facilities are actually free of charge.
Sasa katika huduma hii ya SHA, iwapo umejisajili ndugu yangu wa bodaboda, na hatuombi mabaya, kila siku tunaomba Mungu atulinde. Iwapo utapata ajali masaa 24 ya kwanza, unaenda katika hospitali yoyote, ni ya kiserikali, ni ya kijamii, ni ya kibinafsi, unatibiwa bure. Iwapo kama unahitaji operation, hii SHA kama umejisajili inasimamia matibabu haya. Ni faida si faida? Ile 500 mlikuwa mnalipa NHIF, wengi wao walikuwa wanashindwa kulipa. So wana bodaboda, mimi tumekuja kwenu kutafuta ushirikiano. Ya kwamba hii inabeba wa Kenya wengi, mnatembea nao kwingi. Mwe ambassadors wetu, mweze kuelezea kwamba SHA inaweza na inasaidia. Na si kwa Wakenya kawaida, hata kati yetu, maana wengi ni machairman hapa, si ndio? Ninyi ni machairman wa stage mbalimbali. Mkifika katika stage zenu zungumzeni na wanabodaboda wenzenu. Wajisajili kupitia *147#. Manufaa muhimu mawili: linda mama ambao ni wake zenu na kukinga ajali yenu nyinyi. Mmesikia MC hapa ameondoka akisema yeye kila siku anajaza fomu asubuhi kusaidia watu. Tumepunguzia pressure. Maana mama akishika mimba leo, awali ilikuwa akishika mimba unangojea akijifungua ndio upate usaidizi wa shilingi 5,000. Lakini mama akishika leo, kama ni mkeo, ni dadako, ni mamako, na leo ameshika mimba, kliniki ni bure. Unamsajili leo, kesho anaenda kliniki. Na akijifungua tunasimamia hadi shilingi 10,000 chini ya linda mama. Yeye anajifungua bila operation. Iwapo mkeo, ndugu yangu wa bodaboda, atajifungua na operation, awali ilikuwa inalipwa shilingi 16,000. Hivi chini ya SHA tunalipa hadi shilingi 30,000. Na mtoto akizaliwa, mama na mwana tunamsimamia hadi miaka mingapi? 5. Chanzo kikubwa cha umaskini katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, ndugu zangu, mama zangu, ni nini? Ugonjwa. Kila siku huyu anataka dialysis, huyu anataka chemo, huyu anataka operation. Hii SHA inatoa suluhu ya changamoto hizo. Kwa mfano, iwapo kuna mgonjwa nyumbani ambaye anaugua ugonjwa wa figo, kupitia NHIF ya kitambo ilikuwa serikali inasimamia 9,500. Hivi sasa kupitia SHA, kama umemsajili, tunasimamia hadi shilingi 10,650 kwa session moja. Kama ni mara 2 kwa wiki, tunasimamia hadi shilingi 21,000. Inaaminisha nini? Si dialysis peke yake, anapata chakula na hospitali zingine wanapeana mpaka dawa.
All right. There's one guy, okay, not a guy, CS, I'm talking about the CS Mining, Ali Hassan Joho. I think he's doing some interesting work. He's actually the Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs. And he's now highlighting the importance of providing sea time experience for seafarers immediately after graduation to equip the graduates with the required practical skills and hands-on exposure to transition efficiently into the maritime workforce. Joho has reiterated that sea time will not only bridge the gap between theory, knowledge, and real-world work application, but will also enhance the seafarers' safety, competency, and easy adaptability in their future jobs. Speaking at the Bandari Maritime Academy, Mombasa, where he presided over the graduation ceremony of 100 youth who received their standard of training, certification, and watchkeeping for seafarers program, the CS highlighted that there is a need to develop mechanism, including internship programs, that will equip them with the required skills, especially for international jobs.
To prepare them katika kufanya kazi za kimataifa. And therefore we must develop mechanisms, mipango ambayo wakitoka hapa kuna some internship program ambayo itawapatia, or it will create an enabling environment kwamba wako tayari kupewa kazi ya kimataifa. And I want to tell you, mimi niko committed. I am very committed kurudisha hadhi ya ubaharia zaidi ya zamani.
Courses ambazo zamani tulikuwa tunaenda kutafuta nje za maritime, 80% of courses are now available here in Kenya. Na mimi ningependa nishukuru KMA kwa kupeana approval ili sisi tuweze kubaki kwa ile inaitwa whitelist ya IMO. Ni muhimu sana Kenya ikiwa kwa hiyo whitelist, kwa sababu ndio inatupatia recognition dunia mzima.
All right, let's see what the newspapers have for us. We're going to start off with the Standard newspaper. The headline reads, "Shockwave of Trump's re-election hits home." And this is as U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, basically handed in her resignation. And it says, tour of duty, the aftershocks of Donald Trump's re-election as U.S. president hit Kenyan shores after Meg Whitman resigned as Washington's ambassador. The envoy, who described her mission as an honor and privilege, was facing growing criticism of her support for President William Ruto at a time of mounting public unease over governance. And then you also have the inside story, promotion boost for teachers as TSC declares 5,690 vacancies open. Then you have fans wonder who will finish gospel song after death of musician. What do you mean? Feni Oyugi. She was in the process of releasing Unastahili Kuabudiwa and other songs when she met her death. Interesting read, okay. Then at page 5 you have Kalonzo in talks with Gachagua in a bid to build strong coalition. That will happen. Hope it holds until the elections. And then the back page, Akumu, don't write us off yet. Harambee Stars coach Engin Firat talks to Anthony Akumu in a training session. Football in Kenya. Woo-wee. Daily Nation, why U.S. envoy resign? You have diplomacy. Silicon Valley billionaire Meg Whitman yesterday announced her resignation as the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, ending her 2-year stint in the country in a tenure during which she pleased and annoyed in equal measure. Her critics, who accuse her of causing up to President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza administration, have welcomed the move as well as the Donald Trump ascendancy back to the White House. Then still in the Daily Nation, you have ignored red flags and Schiff mess. There's been a lot of mess, hasn't there? Nominated Muranga MCA Wainaina dies in hospital. He was not only a committed leader, but also a friend and a pillar of strength. That's what the Speaker of the Assembly, Johnson Mokuha, was saying. So inside it has some interesting stories, including ministers and PSS to sign fresh performance contracts, then cases against Divani, ex-Mungiki boss, latest among 1,000 dropped by ODPP. And then you have Treasury on the spot of 2.3 billion tax fraud. Taxpayers could lose 4.8 billion as a result of exemptions granted to private firms. The Star newspaper. Purge looms in Bunge as ODM demands slots. Former DP Rigathi Gachagwa's ally Gathoni wa Mushomba is among those to be kicked out in far-reaching changes. Well, that's expected. Gachagua workers allowed more time to file job letters. Only 51 out of 108 ordered to go on compulsory leave have submitted their contracts. Okay. And then this is a sad report from the Inspector General Police, who says police officers are more depressed than the general public. Now that's a scary thought because they walk around with guns. Tisk, tisk. Think about it. Then on the fourth page of the Star, some of the people who will be targeted in the cleanup by Kenya Kwanza includes Dindi Nyoro, who seems to have had change of heart. Then you have John Mutunga, then Vincent Musau, George Masharia, Nimrod Mbai, and Gathoni wa Moshomba. Those are some of the individuals targeted in the new cleanup that's going to happen in Kenya Kwanza in Parliament. Then the Star back page, more to come, more of what? Chemngetich hopes to silence critics by lowering her world record. This is athletics. Let's hope that she's able to do that so that we can have more good stories in the newspapers. The president summoned ministers and PSS to sign bottom-up performance targets. Let's see whether they are going to do that. Okay, I think I need to take some coffee. And with that, I'm going to bring down the curtains on the show. And then remember at 9, mark this, at 9 you're going to have Your Faith Today. Very interesting conversations about your faith and how you can grow it. Have yourself a lovely morning.